Dear student, due to coronavirus, school started online classes for your study. So you can subscribe Golden Flower Palia YouTube channel, like and press the bell icon.
Hello students, today again we are going to discuss physics class 12th and already we had a discussion about the Gauss theorem in the last video part, and today we are going to discuss about the application of Gauss theorem. Okay, so we are going to understand the Gauss theorem in a more precise manner. This is the application which is based on the Gauss theorem, and where we understand how the Gauss theorem is used to find out the electric field when we have a different type of charge distribution. Okay, suppose you have given the charge to a body and that body is distributing charge in different way. Okay, like if we are providing the charge to a wire, so charge will be distributed in the length of the wire. So when the charge is distributing in the length of wire, so then due to that wire, how to find out the electric field at a particular point. Same as if we are providing the same charge to a spherical body, then charge will be distributed on the surface of that body, and how we are going to find out the electric field due to that spherical body at some point of question. Okay, so this we are going to understand today, and before we start the video, first we have to understand what is the Gaussian surface, because when we are distributing the charge, we are giving the charge to any body, there we should draw a Gaussian surface, a hypothetical surface due to which inside which that charge body is to be lie. Because what is the Gauss theorem explaining about? Gauss theorem is stating that the total flux coming out a closed surface, emanating through a closed surface, is 1 upon epsilon times the charge enclosed by that surface. Okay, so for due to a charged body, we want to find out electric field at any point, then there must be some closed surface which must pass from that point at which the electric field is to be calculated. Okay, so what is the Gaussian surface? First let understand that Gaussian surface, and then we are going to explain you, I'm going to explain you how to calculate the electric field at a point due to this charge distribution. Okay, so let us start with the Gaussian surface first. What is Gaussian surface? Okay, what is Gaussian surface? It is a hypothetical surface which encloses charge or drawn around the charge distribution and must pass from the point at which electric field is to be calculated. Students, I am not here using the language of book. Okay, it's my own way to explain you the things. So what is Gaussian surface? What is Gaussian surface? It is a hypothetical surface, hypothetical and imaginary surface. Doesn't have any physical significance of this. Okay, so it is a hypothetical surface which encloses the charge or which is drawn around the charge distribution, whatever the charge distribution we are talking about, or due to which charge distribution we are going to calculate the electric field at any point. We have to draw this hypothetical surface around that charge distribution. And one more thing, at which point you want to find out the electric field intensity due to this charge distribution, and this hypothetical surface must pass from that point. Okay, it has to go through that point. Okay, it has to pass from that point. That point should not be inside that closed surface, it must be on the surface of this closed surface. Okay, so this is the Gaussian surface, imaginary surface. So whatever imaginary surface we are drawing, okay, anywhere we are using to visualize the things, such kind of hypothetical surface must be drawn in a dotted line. Okay, you will get understand this Gaussian surface more precisely when I am going to explain you the application of any charge distribution. I am going to explain you how to find out the electric field due to a charge distribution. So let's take one example application. It is application of Gauss theorem. Okay, application of Gauss theorem it is, and we are going to find out electric field at a point due to line charge, due to a line charge. What is a line charge? Suppose you are having a wire, okay, and a charge is given to that wire, is distributed in whole wire across its length. Okay, Q charge you have given to this wire, and that Q charge is distributed in this wire across its length. Okay, so what is the shape of that wire? It is cylindrical. Okay, so the shape of wire is cylindrical, and the charge given to that wire is distributed whole of this wire across its length. Okay, so due to this wire you wanted to find out electric field at point A, you consider it as A. Okay, at point A we wanted to find out the electric field due to this wire, and the distance of this point from this wire, it is small r. Okay, this you have understand. The charge I have given to a wire, line charge, because we are talking about. So line charge is what? A kind of conductor we have, a kind of wire we have, and which charge is given, and charge is distributed along the length of this wire, and we have to draw a Gaussian surface to find out the electric field at point A. Okay, so I have to draw a Gaussian surface, and Gaussian surface is a hypothetical surface which must pass from the point where the electric field is to be calculated, and it should be drawn by dotted lines. Okay, so I am going to draw the Gaussian surface, but what must be the shape of Gaussian surface? That is a question. Okay, what must be the shape of Gaussian surface? So whatever the charge distribution shape, charge is distributed in some of the body, and whatever the shape of that body will be, that same shape will be of the hypothetical surface of Gaussian surface. Like I've told that charge is given to a wire, and wire is cylindrical in shape. So if the wire is cylindrical in shape, the Gaussian surface that we are going to draw, that is going to be passed from the point in question where the electric field is to be calculated, that also must be cylindrical in shape. So here I am going to draw a cylinder. This is a cylinder, and it is passing from the point A where the electric field is to be calculated. Okay. So this is a cylinder having radius r, that was the distance of the point A from the wire, from the center of the wire. The same radius of cylinder we are going to draw here, and it is a Gaussian surface. It doesn't have any physical significance. Okay, this is, and let's take its length is L. Okay, its length is L, its radius is R. Let's take two more points. What two more points I am going to take? One is on the upper cross section, that is point B, and one on the lower cross sectional area, that is point C, that I am taking from my side. Okay, and only this point was asked, at this point what should be the electric field. Okay, so these 2 points also we have taken. If the question comes that find out the electric field at point B, find out the electric field at point C, find out the electric field at point A. Now we have 3 points at which the electric field is to be calculated using the Gauss theorem. So a hypothetical surface we have drawn, a Gaussian surface we have drawn by the dotted line, that is passing from the point A where the electric field is to be calculated. 2 more points we have taken, B and C, and the distance of this point A from the center of the wire is R. Okay, the length of the cylinder is L. Suppose Q charge you have given to that. So charge is distributed across the length. Let the length of the wire till here, it is L. So how much charge is distributed per unit length of this wire? What must be the charge? The charge must be Q is equal to lambda L. Lambda is what? Lambda is charge per unit length. Charge per unit length. And what is this lambda called? It is called linear charge density. Okay, so one more term I have explained to you. What is linear charge density? It is the charge per unit length. Okay, its unit will be lambda is equal to Q by L, coulomb per meter. Okay, this must be the unit of linear charge density. Linear charge density we are taking in account only when the charge is distributed across the length of any conductor. Okay, then we are taking linear charge density. If it is going to be distributed in surface of a conductor, like we have a plane plate and we have given the charge to a plane surface, a plane plate, plane conductor, so then the charge will be distributed in its surface area. Then per unit area there will be some amount of charge, and that amount of charge is called surface charge density. What is the surface charge density? It is the charge per unit area, and it is taken into the account only when we are taking the charge distribution in the surface area of any body. Okay. One more, the charge distribution type, it is the volume charge density. Suppose you are having the 3-dimensional body. Okay, like a sphere you have, like a cuboid you have, a cube you have. Okay, a 3-dimensional body you have, and you have given the charge to that 3-dimensional body, then charge will be distributed in the volume of that body. Okay, so when the charge is distributed in the volume of that body, the per unit volume, the charge contained by the body is called volume charge density. Okay, it is called volume charge density. Linear charge density when charge is going to be distributed in the length. Surface charge density when the charge is going to be distributed in across the area of a conductor, and volume charge density when it is going to be distributed among a whole of this volume of a body, a 3-dimensional body. Okay, so it depends upon that body, what kind of body, what kind of charge distribution we are going to take. Okay, so here it will have a line charge density, a line charge distribution, it was there, and we have given a charge to a wire. It was distributed across the length of that wire. So we have taken lambda, that is charge per unit length. So Q, total charge on that body will be lambda into L, charge per unit length into length of that body. Charge per unit length into length of body, that will be the total charge given to that body. Okay, so this is a complete diagram. You have to understand the diagram first, because everything it is there in the diagram. If you are not understanding the diagram, you are not going to understand the derivation. It is quite simple. Okay, and it depends upon the diagram you are going to make for it, and what the diagram is explaining, that is quite important. Okay, so this is whole which I am explained for the Gauss theorem for the line charge density. So now we have to mention, because we are having this Gaussian surface, we need to take electric flux into account to find out the electric field. Okay, so because Gauss theorem is all about the electric flux, whenever the charge is enclosed by a surface, what flux is coming out from that surface, that is about the Gauss theorem. Okay, that is all explaining the Gauss theorem, how much flux is coming out from the surface which is encloses a charge. So how much charge it is enclosed? It enclosed Q charge. Okay, so Q charge is enclosed by this Gaussian surface. Now we have to find out how much flux is coming out from this surface, and from where this flux is coming out. It is quite important. Okay, which place is there through which the flux is coming out? Is it coming out from the upper cross section? Is it coming out from the lower cross section? Is it coming out from this curved surface area? Okay, curved surface, this curved surface, okay, sidewise lateral surface. Okay, so this we need to find out how much flux is coming out from this surface and from where it is coming out. It depends upon that. If it is coming out from the upper cross section, then I'll take the area of upper cross section. If it is coming out from the lower cross section, I'll take the area of the lower cross section only. What was the electric flux? Electric flux was the electric field into area of cross section. So what area of cross section we have to take, that is quite important. Okay, so the point is, from which part of this Gaussian surface electric flux is going to be come out from the surface. Okay, so here I am going to mention electric field and area vector. Okay, so let's take a small area element at A, a small area element at B, and a small area element at C. Okay, here at A, electric field will be away from the charge. It is always originating at the right angle from the charge, and it is starting from the positive charge and terminating at the infinity. Okay, I have explained this thing many times in the lectures. Whenever you are going to take the electric field lines, you are going to show the electric field, you must see that what charge is given and how the electric line will come out from that charge. Electric lines is always originating from the charge at a right angle. Okay, so it is originating at a right angle and it is starting from the positive charge and going to be terminate at infinity. So through this surface, the electric field line is coming out perpendicularly to this surface, particular surface. And area of cross section, area of this point A, area vector of this point A will be always perpendicular to that area. So it is also dA. Okay, dA vector. So a small area element, dA vector, and electric field both are in the same direction here, because positive charge is always giving the electric fields away. Okay, starting from positive charge, going to be terminate at infinity. Okay, so they both are in the same direction. Here at B, the area of cross section, the area vector dA vector is always perpendicular to the surface area, and electric field lines, the direction will be same as at point A, dA, and here it is area vector perpendicular dA vector, and electric field lines are E, electric field intensity, that is. So all the points we have the direction of electric field and area vector. Here it is on A, it is in the same direction. Here on B, they are perpendicular to each other. Here on C, they are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so you might have understood this one. We have taken the length of this cylinder, cylindrical part, that is equal to L. Okay, so now we have to apply the Gauss theorem, and for the Gauss theorem we are going to calculate how much flux is coming out from this Gaussian surface. Okay, so we are going to calculate the flux emanating from Gaussian surface. Okay, that is total flux is represented by phi E, and we will take for all of them, for A, for B, for C. Okay, all of them, because electric flux we are going to calculate from a whole area of this Gaussian surface, from the upper cross section, from the lower cross section, and from the curved surface. Okay, from all the surfaces we have to take this one. So now here it is at A curved surface, it is E vector dot dA vector, okay, plus at B it is E vector dot dA vector, and plus C it is E vector dot dA vector. I am going to remove this one. Okay, space is very less on my board, so it's quite making difficult to write everything on the board. Okay, so here it is on A, ADA, B and C. From all the surfaces we are going to calculate the electric flux. Here I have integrated these equations. That means from whole cross section I'm talking about this complete area of cross section. I'm talking about this complete area of cross section, and I'm talking about this whole area of cross section. Okay, so here I have taken the integration just for finding the electric flux from the whole area it is coming out, and just mention the A, B and C. A is representing the curved surface area, B is representing the upper surface area of cross section, and C is representing the lower area of cross section. That's all. Doesn't mean of this A, B and C anything. Okay, so phi E is what now? Now we are going to put angle between E and dA. We must see that what is the angle between E and dA. We have, this is the dot product. Flux, it is a dot product, and when we are removing the dot and vectors from the E and dA, there must be cos theta. Okay, we are going to put cos theta, and theta is the angle between E and dA. E and dA. E and dA. Okay, it is the angle between E and dA. So here it is E and dA, E dA cos 0. Okay, at A they both are in the same direction, so I have taken here cos 0. At B they are perpendicular to each other, so we are taking cos 90, and at C it is E dA cos 90. Okay, so this is all right. So now what is cos 90's value? Cos 90, it is equal to 0. So this particular expression is going to be 0. This is going to be 0. That means none of the flux is coming out from the upper cross sectional area and lower cross sectional area. Only the flux is coming out from the curved surface area. Okay, not the whole of this cylinder. From whole cylinder it is not coming out, it is only coming out from this curved surface. Okay, this curved surface, lateral surface of the cylinder. Okay, not from the upper, not from the lower. So this 90 means just only that it is going to be emanate flux from this surface, okay, not from the lower, not from the upper. Okay, let's see this once again. I'm going to remove this also. Okay, and figure's importance are still there. Phi E is equal to EDA cos 0. This is going to be 0, this is going to be 0. Here you can write here cos 90 is equal to 0. Okay, so therefore EDA cos 90 is equal to EDA cos 90 at C, they will be 0. They both terms are going to be 0 because flux is not coming out from the upper cross sectional area and lower cross sectional area. Now it is going to be come out only from the curved surface. So here I am going to mention only this one part of the expression. So this is A E D A. Okay, and cos 0 it is 1. Cos 0 it is 1. So here we have electric flux passing from curved surface. I'll take phi E is equal to E, you take common because electric field is going to be constant, and we are going to integrate only dA. Okay, dA is the curved surface area. Integration of dA at A, it means only the curved surface area. And what is the curved surface area of a cylinder? It is 2 pi RL. So it is going to be 2 pi RL. Here I am going to mention here 2 pi RL. Okay, R is the radius, L is the length of the cylinder. I have already mentioned. Okay, this is. Now this you consider as equation number 1. Now you have to recall your memory and think about that what was the Gauss theorem. What was the Gauss theorem stating? How much flux is going to be come out from a closed surface which encloses a charge in it. So if a charge is enclosed in a surface, how much flux is coming out? It is Q by epsilon naught. Okay, so using the Gauss theorem, okay, Gauss theorem is explaining that phi E is equal to Q by epsilon naught. Okay, the flux coming out, giving out by a closed surface is 1 upon epsilon naught times the charge enclosed by the surface. And how much charge was enclosed inside the surface? It was Q, and that we have considered as lambda L. Okay, Q lambda L. Q is equal to lambda L. Okay, so this I am going to put here. These two equations are similar. This is also explaining the electric flux. This is also explaining the electric flux. Both are giving the electric flux. So both must be equal to each other. So we are going to combine them. We are going to compare them. Sorry. So comparing equation 1 and 2. So now here we have E 2 pi RL is equal to Q by epsilon naught. So E will be equal to 1 upon 2 pi epsilon naught Q by RL. Okay, so this is the equation we got for the electric field at point in question at point A, where the electric field is to be calculated. I am going to remove this because a little more is left. Okay, this I am going to arrange this equation 1 upon 2 pi epsilon naught, and here this we can write it as Q by L upon R. And what is Q by L? Q by L, it is lambda, and lambda is linear charge density. I have explained in the starting of this derivation, linear charge density. So instead of writing Q by L, I am going to write here lambda. So E is equal to 1 upon 2 pi epsilon naught, that is lambda upon R. Okay, If we are keeping this 1 upon 2 pi epsilon naught, okay, so it will be little bit difficult to calculate the value of 1 upon 2 pi epsilon naught. Going to be complicated because we have to keep the value of pi as 3.14, and this one it is epsilon 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12. So make it a little simple by multiplying with 2 by dividing with 2. It can be written as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, and it will be 2 lambda upon r. Okay, and this value 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, it was in the first chapter in Coulomb's law, it was 9 into 10 to the power 9. So it become little simple to calculate the value of this electric field due to the line charge. Line charge, that means the charge is given to a wire. Okay, charge is given to a line. Okay, charge is going to be distributed in a length of wire, across the length of wire. So this was the first application of the Gauss theorem. There are many more, and we will study about that also in the next video. Thank you so much.
Do self study at home and stay home, save lives.